Immortals of Aveum, where magic meets Call of Duty. This novel concept was the brainchild of Ascendant Studios and was published by EA Originals. Ascendant Studios was founded in 2018 by a group of well-established devs, some of which had worked on some pretty big titles: Bioshock 2, Borderlands 2, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty World War II, Dead Space, and Metal Gear Solid 5. Ascendant Studios would go on to spend 5 years developing Immortals of Aveum. And with this level of experience, it's safe to say that Ascendant Studios had a pretty solid team working on Immortals of Aveum. When asked about the game, a spokesperson for the studio stated in a pre-launch interview that their vision for Immortals of Aveum is to create a fun and challenging experience that offers a strong story and memorable characters. The game tells the story of Jack, the protagonist, who joins an elite order of battle mages to save a world from impending doom. Unfortunately, Immortals of Aveum was a complete flop, and the game is recorded as being one of the worst-selling EA titles of all time. Just 1 week after the August 23 launch on the PS5, Xbox X and PC, the game's concurrent players on Steam peaked at a mind-blowing 751. How did this happen? Let's start with marketing. There was none. This game flew completely under my radar, as well as everybody else's apparently. And this is especially shocking for me, as this game is absolutely my jam. I saw zero advertising for this game, and that is a real shame. Now, no official sales figures seem to have been released for the game that I can find, but with those kind of player counts, it can't have been great. 5 years of development, just to not bother to tell anybody about it. That is definitely a solid misstep. As previously mentioned, the game released August 2023, putting it smack bang between Starfield and Baldur's Gate. Now, I'll never understand why so many studios make this mistake, especially with a new IP that no one has heard of. I'm sure that there is a wide variety of reasons as to why studios continue to do this, but they really need to stop. So many games underperform because they're released at the same time as another heavy hitter. Another reason that could have contributed to the game's poor performance: the PC version released with some pretty steep system requirements, immediately cutting their potential PC player base down the middle. And the game allegedly ran horrifically on hardware that didn't meet system requirements. So launching a new IP with little to no advertising, at the same time as Starfield, one of the most highly anticipated games of all time, a game that was first envisioned nearly 30 years ago, and Baldur's Gate, a well-established series with a dedicated player base, and then severely limiting the number of PC players with steep system requirements. These reasons left Immortals of Aveum dead in the water from the get-go. Worse still, the game's poor sales led to Ascendant Studios laying off almost half of their staff in a bid to stave off the studio's complete collapse. CEO Brett Robbins called the layoffs painfully difficult but necessary. And to think this all could have been avoided. Now, I do wonder, would the game have performed well if things were done differently? A magic-based FPS is absolutely my kind of game, but is it everybody else's though? Tapping into the FPS market with a game that has no guns was probably always going to be a bit of a challenge. Take Spellbreak for example. I really enjoyed Spellbreak. The game was pretty, with its anime-esque graphics, and this free-to-play game had an inventive take on the third-person, class-based shooter battle royale concept. Now, I'm not really one for battle royales, but Spellbreak did feature a TDM mode, which I enjoyed. Essentially, instead of picking up guns and shooting each other, you would instead collect gauntlets that harness different magical elements, such as wind, fire, ice, lightning, stone, poison, and would just batter each other with those instead, and it was pretty enjoyable. Sadly, Proletariat, the developer behind Spellbreak, otherwise known as Blizzard Boston, which is convenient for me because for some reason I really struggled to pronounce Proletariat. I am not ashamed to admit I have had to record this segment a few times. So Blizzard Boston announced that the game's servers would officially close January 2023, just 2.5 years after its September 2020 release. And it would seem that low player counts were the reason for this decision. So, should magic remain in fantasy RPGs, where it flourishes? Or is it possible that other devs in the future will have a stab at breaking into the shooter market with a concept that I believe still has untapped potential. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. Good night, sub, peace.